Well, morning folks. Back to the bike test rides. Those who've been following my story know that after a serious heart condition a few months back, I'm in the process of looking for a new bike, something a little bit lighter than the RT. So on the potential shopping list are the Ducati Multistrada, the Ducati Monster, and possibly some BMWs as well. Also had some quite interesting ideas coming through the comments section, so thank you for those. But today it's the air temperature around about 2 degrees. It's a beautiful day, and I find myself at Ducati Aylesbury for the first time, and it's great actually. A lovely. It's just nice to walk into. I hope they'll forgive me for saying this, but just an old-fashioned motorcycle sale room actually, with plenty of different kind of bikes, lots to actually look at, used and brand new. I think they do a Aprilia. The Ducati, the Kawasaki's here, and also got a very good shop as well. So obviously, if I do buy the Ducati, this is probably the place I would come to actually service the bike. Probably the closest to me. I'm probably midway between Coventry and Aylesbury. Peterborough, not too far away either. But here's today's ride. So without further ado, let's get on and see what we make of it. So, just need to be aware that as I rode down this morning, there was ice around. The air temperature is about 2 degrees. I've come through some quite thick banks of fog as well, but I'm hoping in the last 30 minutes or so that's actually burned off. But I do need to be aware of the ground conditions, so I certainly shan't be doing anything particularly adventurous today. A good test for the Halverson suit. My held gloves today. But bright conditions. So this time I've sat on the Ducati in anger. And you press that switch for ignition, and we're in neutral. Mirrors look about right. So I've picked a route of about 25 miles or so. So first impressions then, feels very comfortable. Looks like the road is drying out, and I think that fog has burnt off, I think. One thing about riding in Buckinghamshire is that I've got to say, of all the roads I've ridden on, these are, I think, probably the worst in terms of road conditions. Okay, so we've got traffic lights ahead, and lots of building going on around the country at the moment. So in winter, when you've got freezing conditions and mud and gunge, you've got to be on your A game. Well, that's interesting. Neutral. Oh, there we are. Found it eventually. Not easy to find. No following traffic. Yeah, so 30 miles an hour, but the riding position very comfortable actually. I think it's an all-day riding position. For me, my legs don't feel too tucked. As I say, probably 33-inch legs. Saddle, very supportive. Feels quite a tall riding position, very similar to the GS. But I think lacks the sort of sheer bulk of the GS, so I think that's one of the things that put me off the GS. I always felt like I was riding a sort of penny farthing that weighed about 3 tons, and I never quite sort of felt at home really on it. Felt like a sort of a sit-up and beg riding position to me, just didn't suit me, so I feel like I'm leaning into the bike, sitting forward on it, and into the national speed limit. We've got a slow sign. Display is very clear actually, gives me the information I want. I like the nice big MPH readout and the rev counter on the left. So as I say, I shall be taking it quite gingerly today. Just want to get the feel of the machine really. Good long look down the road there, no following traffic. Let's straighten these bends. What you can't pick up on the camera here is the left side of this lane is actually virtually a ditch, an asphalt ditch, horrible and bumpy. That's what I find about these Buckinghamshire roads. They're just so unpredictable. One minute you're on a decent surface, the next it's not great at all. Well, just take some very sensible, safe lines, I think, today. So the engine feels very smooth to me, smoother than my RT at this sort of speed in 4th gear. And it really makes you think actually. I mean, when you get bikes that have got more than 1000cc, do most of us actually need that? Are we ever going to use it? What percentage of the rev range do we ever use? I know on the RT I barely scrape the surface, just occasionally, probably got above 5,000 or 6,000. Not great road conditions for testing a bike really. But between sort of fog and rain and everything else, I'm to make the best of what I can really. It's a better surface. See the road's going left here. Okay, so the steering is much lighter than the RT. Almost, I think, a sort of a point and shoot type feel to it, but much lighter. We're coming into a village. Now I'm actually cancelling the indicators on this, but I actually don't think I need to, because of the Multistrada has something called an inertial measuring unit, which essentially works out acceleration through the various axes, and it can actually tell when the bike is leaning upright again. Old habits die hard though. So I think my impression after 10 minutes is this would make a very sensible replacement for the RT, on the basis that it suits my requirements, which is for a lighter, more agile machine. And the fuel light has come on. So we've got that perfect mix today of a new bike, new roads, difficult conditions. So you've really got to turn the concentration up hard. And Buckinghamshire roads. And again, because of the gleam on the roads and the angle of the sun, you can't really pick up the white road markings in terms of give way signs and so forth. Excuses, excuses, eh? And the Multistrada 950 has the skyhook suspension system, so what you've got to imagine is a bit of string tied to the front wheel, a bit of string tied to the back wheel, tied together somewhere over the top of the bike, and essentially the bike will keep a perfect balance through that. Well, there's no lack of go in this, and it gets very rorty when you get above what, they're about 4,000 or 5,000 revs. Really picks up. Plenty enough for me. No following traffic. Got a warning sign buried in the hedge here. Horses. Trying to give way. Trying to use all the information today, looking at where the hedge lines are going. The hedges have recently been cut round here, very clean, sharp lines, which gives me the information about the direction of travel on strange roads. I always think the test of a good advanced riding system is, does it work on roads you just don't know at all? It's relatively straightforward, isn't it, riding on roads that we're familiar with, although of course the unexpected can always happen. I've got the heated grips on the lowest setting. My held gloves are keeping my hands just the right temperature. Air temperature is 3 degrees centigrade. Yeah, so the self-cancelling indicator, I just left it to its own business there. Switched itself off quite nicely. Yeah, so she feels beautifully balanced. So we're just outside the market town of Buckingham now, which we shall skirt and then head south again, back down to Ducati Aylesbury. Gear change, very smooth. There's that slight problem trying to find neutral when you're stationary. This bike's got 757 miles on, maybe that improves as the bike gets run in. I don't know whether any of you ride Multistradas, maybe you've got any feedback on that, I'd be interested. Just trying to work out what gears the bike's happiest in at various speed limits. Nice to be test riding bikes again after such a long layoff, really. And this for me is potentially the hardest conditions to ride in, where you get quite a low winter sun gleaming on a dirty wet road. That's about at sort of urban speeds, 30 miles an hour and so on, but because you can lift on my hill, but I've got a flick lid, I can lift the lid up. to say she's an absolute beauty. Lovely bike. I could do a lot worse than this. Give me the option to tour with the panniers on the touring pack, the panniers and the heated grips and the centre stand. The sensible decision, but I've not ridden the Monster yet. Loads of engine braking as well. I would say just as comparable as the RT actually. About the overtake that saw the slow sign and the junction ahead, but again in these low light conditions very difficult to pick things out, so you really do need to err on the side of caution. I've got to be honest, if I compare this with the GS, to me this does everything the GS does, but it's lighter and you get to use more of the engine. I guess price wise they're comparable, unless you, I don't know what the price is like when you start to compare the sort of top of the range GS Adventure and so forth, but I think for a lot of guys who buy the GS, you know, you're probably a bit like me, you're more, let's say, nearer the autumn of life than the spring, and just to have something that is just that little bit more nimble, a little bit lighter, might be worth a shout. Let's have another go at finding neutral, shall we? No? Yes. So, impressions. Yeah, very nice. Nothing I've come across on the bike would cause me to reject this bike or be disappointed in it. So it's very much cold day, 4 degrees there on the air temperature on the readout. I feel quite comfortable. I've got my Halverson suit on, got a decent pair of gloves, so it'd be fine for winter riding. It would take me touring. There's plenty of poke in the engine, I've got to say, and I've not got above probably 5,000 revs yet. Oh, great. Yeah, plenty of engine braking. So here's a typical Buckingham road surface. Absolutely awful. Got all these gravel and cracks, smooth bits, potholes. Okay, so in terms of the screen then, let's just pull it up a little bit. Oh, that makes a difference now. Got it on the higher setting, so actually now 60 miles an hour there's no buffeting at all around the helmet for me. That feels quite comfortable. I don't know whether I'll get the opportunity to test it at 70. Starting to feel more at home on the bike now. Any of you out there who do your own test rides will know what it's like when you actually get on the strange bike, particularly when you've had to travel to the dealers and you don't know the roads. You've got strange bikes, strange roads, and you're very conscious it's not your machine. So big thanks, big shout out to Ducati Aylesbury for allowing me to ride the bike. Lifesaver. Yeah, I could certainly see myself on this. So the big question is, can the Monster knock this off its perch? I think, if I'm honest, I'll certainly keep the option open for the BMW. Yes, I always like to have a little reflect on these, but you know, the BMW series of boxer engine bikes, they are all big heavy bikes. You know, say what you like about, you know, they carry their weight well and all this kind of stuff, but they, you know, they're all sort of 230, 265 kilo bikes. And I probably have to go down to the R9T or something like that to get the 230. You know, the kinds of bike I would be interested in probably be the R1250 RS. And I think that's only 20 kilos lighter than the RT. And I've got to say, this one, the Multistrada 950s, just feels so light and nimble. I like the engine note as well. The Highways Authority there had very helpfully put 3 white lines across the road there to slow you down, right on the bend, right where a motorcyclist is tipped over. And there's a horse box coming the opposite way. And again, in this winter gleam, you couldn't see it till you were right on it. Yeah, I mean, this, in terms of the agility and nimbleness, if that's the right word, probably agility, I've got to say, this is so much easier at lower speeds than the RT. Okay, let's see what she can do, shall we? She does very well. So again, no turbulence for me. With the screen in that position at 60 miles an hour. I spend most of my life on B roads, just having a bit of fun. Okay, so I do get turbulence at 70. Just on that little stretch of dual carriageway there, I didn't really get very much opportunity to do that on this ride, but she certainly pulls very happily up to 80 miles an hour, which is all I need. So yeah, comfortable, agile, feels light, ticks all the boxes, a perfect fit. So in terms of the sensible choice, there's absolutely no doubt at all, I think this would be it. Just feels lighter than a BMW, feels lighter than the GS, feels lighter than the RT. Well, it is lighter. It's I think depending upon, I've seen conflicting figures of sort of weights, dry versus wet on the Multistrada, but probably anywhere between 30 and 40 kilos lighter, which is well, the best part of £100, isn't it, in old money? And she overtakes beautifully. The torque is just where you want it, really. I'm just trying out the quick shifter as well there. It's very, very slick, I have to say. Hardly notice it. Well, what a lovely machine. Back to the bike seal of approval for the Ducati Multistrada 950s. Big road presence as well, you know, you can be seen on this bike. Westcott, see the sign to Westcott there. End of World War II, my father was flying Lancasters into Westcott, bringing back prisoners of war from Italy. Well, there we go. Side stand easy to find. So I'm not obviously doing a detailed review today. It's my impressions. It's a very sort of personal review, really, for me. It's there are plenty today. The Bennett's bike review and the MCN review. Superb bike show as well. You know, plenty of really good sort of technical reviews for those of you who are more interested in the technical information. This is just an impression from a 60-year-old bloke who needs to find a different ride after his heart isn't quite as strong as it used to be, and the question is, could I see myself on this? And absolutely I could. So, lovely display, I've got to say, very, very clear, gives you all the information you need, and I think that's probably a bike I could actually fall in love with.